All right, in Office 365, you can select Power Automate. So I already have that here. And then you'll want to hit Create. So I've already done that. And then we're going to pick Automated Cloud Flow and then our flow name. And so for all of this, just like our Excel and our forms, you want to make sure that you spell everything correctly and capitalize everything and have all your underlined. So we've got a direct labor flow, and I'm just following along in the Word document. And so this flow is going to be triggered when there's a new response from Microsoft Forms. All right, so now we're going to have to configure this. And so for the form ID, we're going to pick the direct labor form. So if you've created other forms, you might have some, but hopefully you don't, to add to any confusion. All right, then next we're going to click on the plus sign down below, and we are going to click on Get Response Details. So first we need to search for that. So it's under Microsoft Forms. So again, that's our trigger. And so we're going to click on Get Response Details. And then we're going to rename this. So again, it's a good habit to get into to rename this right away. So Get Labor Form Response. Okay, so we're going to get that information from the workers that said how much they worked. All right, and so then for the form ID, again, just like we clicked before, it's the direct labor form. And then the response ID, we're going to go to the dynamic content with the lightning bolt and select response ID. All right, and so then good time to hit save. And now that we have a trigger and we have an action, we can test this out. So if you have your direct labor form available, and if you don't, you can go open it. And then we want to say collect responses. And then you can select, probably easiest if you select anyone can respond, and then copy link. And then we will paste and go to that. And so we're going to fill this out just to test it out. And we'll just say 1 hour. And I did cutting, and let's say, and we can hit submit. So now we have a trigger. Then just one thing to be aware of, now that you did that, if we're going to be testing this out a couple times so we can work off of this screen. So now we can come here and we can go back. And so this is a dashboard that we can use. And if we come here, we can see the output of the flow. So we can then click on this activity. And if we scroll down, we can go to outputs. And don't worry about all of this stuff, but we want to look towards the bottom by this body. And so you'll notice, so Fred Smith, I picked job 2026-001, the date, 1 hour of working, they did cutting, and we had no comments. So this is called a cryptic field, And then this is called friendly, well, it's in response to the friendly names. The field names on the form are called friendly names. And then this is a cryptic field name. So far so good. So we can go back to editing. We have 9 steps in this flow. All right, so the next thing, we're going to click on the plus sign and we're going to look for compose. So again, our goal is to be filling out our labor sheet in Excel. So, and we're grabbing the data from the forms to put that into Excel. So we picked compose and we're going to rename this. I don't have capitalized, so this. And there's an underline, so calculate hours. And then the inputs, we're going to select FX. And we're going to type float. So again, sometimes this converts a string or integer into a number. Then we're going to click, so put a parentheses. Then we're going to click dynamic content. And under get labor form response, we're going to select hours worked. All right, and then according to our notes, we don't need to enter anything else, so we can just click add and we're all set. So it must have taken a second too. We can come back here and just double check. So far so good. All right, then our next step, we can click plus, and again we have to search for compose, and actually we'll come here first and rename it. So, and then for our inputs, we're going to hit FX. So again, remember, don't type in here. You'll want to hit FX, and we're going to want to do our typing up here. So we have a lot of typing for this one. So we're going to do concat, parentheses, an apostrophe, lab, and a dash, and an apostrophe. Then a comma, let's say format, date, time, parentheses, UTC now. And then there is not a space between that comma and that apostrophe. And parentheses. And a comma. And then 2 parentheses. We'll use one of the ones that they already had. Then a comma, then a 0, then a comma, then a 3, and then there should be 3 parentheses at the end. So let's just double check. This looks like what I have in the Word document. And we'll click. All right. And so then we will click the plus sign. We'll do one more step and then we will test it out. All right. And again, it doesn't hurt to hit save. And so then And you can see in the corner here that it's saving. All right. Then our next step is we're going to want to look for add row. And so you want to make sure that you're working with Excel. So add row into table. And so we're going to want to rename this. And then our location is OneDrive. The document library is OneDrive. Our file, that's what we worked on before. And then our table, we're going to be working with labor. So within that Excel file, it knows all the different tables that we had created in there. All right, so now we can select Show All. And now what we're doing is we're entering this information in that Excel spreadsheet. So there's a variety of things. So first, we have an expression. And sometimes if you have Word open, you can copy and paste it, but you just want to make sure that you don't have any extra spaces. I have a few there, so I'll get rid of those. So outputs, parentheses, apostrophe, generate transaction ID, and remember those underlines. All right, so here's an example of a pill I was referring to. All right, then for our job number, we're going to do dynamic content. So that's the lightning bolt. It says under get labor form response, we want to pick the job number. Remember, if you don't see it, you can select see more. Employee name, similar, the lightning bolt. Under get labor form response, you might have to click that, but we've got the employee name. For date worked, we will select dynamic content again and date worked. Hours worked, same thing. The lightning bolt and hours worked. Then work activity. So remember, we've got cutting and painting, a couple different things. And so sometimes we have two words for that. So we need to be able to read that appropriately. So we're going to type in trim and then a parentheses, then dynamic content here. So not down there, this dynamic content. And then we, under get labor form response, we're going to pick work activity. And then we are all set with that. All right. Then the last thing we need, or the two last things we need under notes, we'll put the lightning bolt and pick notes, and then the timestamp so we can keep track of when this was entered. So we'll put expression and what you see now and click add. All right, so a good time to hit save. And there's just a couple more steps after this, so I like to wait till it it's done saving. So now again, we'll go to our direct labor form. We'll submit another response. Let's do Taylor this time. Job 2. Date worked. Let's say 2 hours. Let's say welding. And 1, 2. So we can kind of keep track. So we'll hit submit. All right, so now we can come over here and take a look at our labor transactions. So we've got Taylor and we've got none 2, and then our last step is going to be adding to the job cost sheet. So far so good with that. All right, so now let us go on to the next step. So our next step is going to be to get the employee wage rate. So we need another Excel activity. So we want to get list rows. Again, be careful that you don't pick anything from the Dataverse. You wanted Excel online, so you want to list rows present in a table. And again, please be sure to rename this. So we're going to name this Get Employee Wage Rate. Then our location, again, is OneDrive. The document library is OneDrive. Our file is the Excel file that we are working with. Again, all the tables are going to show up, and we are going to go for employees. So sometimes it takes a second for all those tables to show up. All right. Then usually I have to click on this to show all. So now we have additional information. All right, so in the filter query, we want to click on FX, and we want to type in concat, parentheses, apostrophe, employee, underline, name, with a space, then EQ, and then make sure to include a space, then 1, 2, 3 apostrophes, and a comma, then trim. All right, so this is working with the employees' names. All right, so then after that first parentheses here, we're going to click this dynamic content, and under get labor form response, so again, you might have to click over there, you're going to select employee name, and then we're going to select, actually we already have one of the parentheses, so we can use one of the parentheses, then add a comma, and we want 4 apostrophes, and then a closing parentheses. So, and then I have an example in the Word document of how this should look, and then you click add, and it looks good. A lot of times if it's not going to work, it won't accept it. It won't let you hit enter. All right, so now we have that query there. Now, after all that work, it'd be a good time to hit save. All right, then we want to extract the wage rate. So our next step is going to be compose. And again, we want to rename this. So we're going to rename this extract wage rate. And our inputs, we're going to select the expression, the fx. And we have a lot of typing to do here. So float, parentheses, string, parentheses, first, outputs. So remember there's an S for outputs, a parentheses, an apostrophe, then get employee wage rate. And we've got the apostrophe there and a parentheses and our question mark, bracket. And then I usually forget this next apostrophe, so remember that. Then body, value, we've already have our apostrophe, bracket, a parentheses, question mark, then bracket, apostrophe, and then hourly wage rate, and then we should be all set. That matches up with what is in the Word document. And I'll click add. Alright, and sometimes this has been showing up, but then it's been disappearing. So let's see. Alright, so that's a good sign. So it's saving there. Alright. Then we'll do our last two. And it can't hurt to run this again, but we'll do our last two steps and then we'll test it again. All right, so now we are going to search for list rows. Again, we want cell. Oh, and actually, before I go too far, let us rename this. Get overhead rate. All right. And OneDrive, our file that we've been working with, our table. So this table is going to be our overhead rates. Show all. And then the filter query. And we want to select FX. And then again, we want to type it up here, not over on the left. So concat, parentheses, apostrophe. And then here you want to remember to add a space after the EQ, and 3 apostrophes. And then you can leave the cursor where it is and click dynamic content. And you want to go find under get labor form response. You want to select work activity. And alright, then after the bracket, you want to add a parentheses and then a comma, and then 4 apostrophes, and then there's going to be an ending parentheses. All right. So that's looking good. And that just helps eliminate any extra spaces that might be present when you are importing information from Microsoft Forms. So can't hurt to hit save, and then we will add our last activity. All right, so we'll hit the plus sign, and then we want to search for add a row. And again, we want Excel Online. Should have the drill down now. Get OneDrive, our file, it's way at the bottom. Our table that we want for this one is the table job costs. So this is now where we're going to be keeping a running total of our labor, overhead, and then eventually our materials. But for this portion, we're just working with the labor and the overhead. All right, then we're going to go to show all. So for transaction ID, we'll hit expression with the FX. And again, sometimes you can copy and paste some of these. But you want to make sure to not have too many extra spaces. So Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Then our job number. We go to the lightning bolt for dynamic content, and under get labor form response, we can pick our job number. For date, do the same thing. So we'll get date work, labor cost, and I just noticed I didn't label this yet, so we need to go back and do that. For this expression for the labor cost. All right, so you'll want to type what I have in the Word document. So you're going to multiply and so we have float and then parentheses, outputs, parentheses, apostrophe, two parentheses, comma, outputs with an S. Remember the next apostrophe. All right, so this is going to multiply the wage rate by the hours worked, and that should be all right. And so that was the labor cost. Then because this is all about labor, we're not going to have material here. Because overhead is related or based on labor, we are going to enter an expression here. So down below tells us we're going to do some multiplying. So depending on the activity, that's going to determine the overhead rate. Right, and an apostrophe, a parenthesis, a comma. So here is where we are referring to another activity. Remember that apostrophe or the word body. Then the apostrophe after that. Then we have a bracket. And then a parentheses, a question mark, bracket, remember all of the underlines, then an apostrophe, a bracket, and 3 closing parentheses. Alright, and that all got entered, and remember, I didn't rename this. So at the top, this is add row to table job cost. So this is where we're going to be keeping a running total. So now we'll save. And then we'll enter another response. We'll just pick job 3 so we can keep track. We'll pick 3 hours worth assembly. Let's see, number 3. All right, and sometimes it takes a second, but a lot of times this gets entered pretty quickly. So here was Taylor Jean, the 3 hours. Taylor earns $20 an hour, so that gets multiplied. It goes back to whatever type of activity. Depending on the type of activity, then the number of hours gets multiplied by that to apply the overhead. And then we also have that last activity pulled in costs in our job cost sheet. So now we have job number 3, and we have the labor and the overhead and the labor cost to date and material cost to date, which is nothing because we haven't entered that yet, and then the overhead applied to date, and then it adds everything. So all is working well.